Hey guys, my name is Alex. I'm here with the Milsig M17 CQC, and today we're going to go over some basic troubleshooting and a little bit of maintenance tips. First and foremost being just oiling up the marker. Really easy to do that. Milsig sends you a little bottle of lube with the M17. Make sure that you're not using anything different. They do take a very specific kind of lube, so if you lose this or use it up, buy more from Milsig. All you're going to want to do, put 2 drops right in the ASA, right where the air tank screws in. Then you want to put your air tank in there. At which point, you just want to dry fire it a few times, maybe 5 or 10 times. That's going to cycle the oil throughout the marker, and it's going to get on those O-rings that need it. And that's it. That's how you oil it up. In terms of troubleshooting, in terms of maybe it's not doing something right or it's misfiring, I'm going to give you guys a quick couple of tips on what it takes to fix it, because honestly there's not a lot of things that can really go wrong with this, but you may not be super used to it. First would be sputtering. Sputtering would be if it sounds like the bolt is bouncing, it's firing very quickly but also with not much velocity behind it, similar to if any other marker were to run out of gas, and there's a good chance that that's why it's sputtering. First, check your tank. Are you out of gas? If you're not out of gas, then it's likely that it's cronied too low, in which case, again, velocity adjust is right there. Just turn it up small bit by small bit. Don't turn it very far. Takes very, very minute adjustments to turn this thing up, and just see if you can get it to stop sputtering that way. Next would be leaking out the barrel. So this would not be sputtering, this would be a consistent leak. As soon as you air it up, all the air tank starts venting out the barrel. And this is usually just because it's cronied too low again. So again, go to your velocity adjust, turn it up bit by bit until it stops leaking through the barrel. If that doesn't stop it, then it is likely the orange O-ring that is inside your heat core. There's really only 2 O-rings. There's one black buffer ring and an orange O-ring, and that might be worn out, or it might just need some oil, and then it should fix it pretty quick. Next would be leaking air out of the bleed valve, which is this little valve that's right next to the velocity adjust. Typically, if it's leaking air out of the bleed valve, there's only 2 things that can be. One, it's cronied too high. So you can go turn your velocity down, see if that makes it stop. 2, over time, the bleed valve sometimes can actually loosen itself out, and very, very easy to fix it. You don't have to take it apart. Just get an Allen key in there, tighten it up until you feel it tighten again. It doesn't have to be crazy tight, but it does have to feel like it can't be hand loosened. Usually that's how you fix it. Honestly, you shouldn't have to take this thing apart pretty much ever. Final thing we're going to cover today is problems with the automatic trigger. There are a couple things that this can do if it's not set right. There is a small adjustment screw inside the trigger that you adjust with an Allen key, and then on the side of the trigger is a little set screw to keep that adjustment screw in place. This is covered in your manual, so please read that manual. There's so much useful information in there. They went to a lot of trouble to make sure that the manual covers everything, and I guarantee it does cover everything. But I know people aren't going to read it anyway, so you're watching this now, so it's all good. If the marker is just misfiring, it's just you pull the trigger back on full auto and it shoots once, maybe a couple times, and then stops, all you got to do is just tighten it up. Again, the manual is going to show which way you turn it to do that. If the marker will not shoot at all when you're pulling the trigger on full auto, then you just have to loosen it, which is just to send it the other way. Honestly, if your automatic trigger isn't working properly, just start turning the little set screw until it starts working properly. You really can't screw it up. Just make sure that you're not actually loaded up with paint when you're doing it, because you run the risk of chopping, you run the risk of making a mess in the marker, and you just really don't need to. You will need air in order to dry fire it, in order to tell if you've got it set at the right setting, but other than that, you shouldn't need to actually run any paint through it. That about covers it. There's one other thing that a lot of people have noticed out of the box with the M17s, and that is that the included 18-round First Strike magazine does not fit snugly into the magwell. There is, on the back of the magazine, a tiny, tiny little seam where the 2 halves of the magazine meet. It's just right on the edge of the mold. Take a little file to that. It should take 2 seconds of filing. It takes no effort at all. If you file that seam down, these things will go in and engage very, very smoothly. Do make sure that you are sanding the magazine, not the paddle of the magwell itself, because if you were to sand down the paddle of the magwell, you may run into feeding issues down the line once your magwell has worked in. So this little seam right there, I'll show you a close-up of it, and just give that a couple swipes with a nail file, any light file, and then you're good to go. Hope that's been helpful. Hope that if any of you guys had any trouble with these things, that solves it. If that doesn't solve it, or if you've got other issues that you want to maybe figure out how to fix, be sure to let us know in the comments. And yeah, thanks for watching.